Okay, I think we'll begin. Good morning. We're here for Public Service Commission hearing in docket 22575, application of Dominion Energy Utah for approval of the Alkali Gulch acquisition as a Wexpro 2 property. For the commission today, it's participating are myself, Thad LeVar, Commissioner David Clark, and Commissioner Ron Allen. And why don't we go to appearances next?
Hi, Jennifer Nelson Clark, Counsel for Dominion Energy, and I have Kelly Mendenhall and Brady Rasmussen with me.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schmidt?
Patricia E. Schmidt with the Utah Attorney General's Office, representing the Division of Public Utilities. Eric Horton is the division's witness today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
Yes, Robert Moore for the Office of Consumer Services. I'm with the AG's office. With me as our witness today is Bella Vastad.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else preliminary before we go to our first witness?
Yes, we have two preliminary matters. The first is that the parties conferred prior to the commencement of this hearing and have agreed to the admission of the application and all of the accompanying exhibits, including the testimonies of Mr. Mendenhall and Mr. Rasmussen, as well as the pre-filed testimony of Mr. Vastag and Mr. Orton. And so I would move for the admission of all of those based on that discussion.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Support for that motion from both of you? Okay, thank you. The motion is granted.
Thank you. And the second preliminary matter is this. As everyone is aware, this docket contains quite a bit of confidential information. Mr. Mendenhall has prepared a summary that will direct your attention to portions of the pleadings without speaking the confidential information. Mr. Rasmussen does not intend to testify today, but is here to answer questions should you have them. And if any of the questions or cross-examination call for the disclosure of confidential information, the company's witnesses are prepared to point you in the direction of the answers in the pleadings, or if we must, we would move to close the hearing at that time. So I just wanted to make parties aware of all of that.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll all be careful to not accidentally say something before we deal with it.
Thank you.
Okay, you ready for your first witness?
The company calls Kelly B. Mendenhall.
Okay. Did you all just agree to stay at the tables for your testimony?
That is okay with you?
Yeah, as long as there's no objection from anyone else. Okay, good morning, Mr. Mendenhall.
Morning.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Mendenhall, please state your name and business address for the record.
My name is Kelly B. Mendenhall, and I'm the Director of Regulatory and Pricing for Dominion Energy Utah, and my business address is 333 South 8th Street, Salt Lake City, Utah.
And in your capacity as a company representative, did you participate in the preparation of the application and exhibits in this matter?
I did.
And would you please summarize for the commission the relief the company seeks here?
Sure. So on March 25th, 2022, Wexpro Development Company closed on some additional interests in and around Alkali Gulch. And per the terms of the Wexpro agreement, those properties are bought at the company's risk, and so Wexpro Development Company purchased those properties. And if the property is within the existing Wexpro development area, the company must bring those before the commission for approval or inclusion in the Wexpro agreement. If they're outside of the development area, then it's a may choose to bring those properties. And so these wells are actually a combination of both. Some are within the Wexpro development area, some are outside. Wexpro has determined that it's in the best interest of everybody to bring all of those wells into the Wexpro agreement. And so that's what is being proposed today. I will give you an update. In my testimony, I talked about a couple of wells in Colorado that had some air quality permits that need to be filed before they could be closed upon. I'm happy to report those permits have been filed, and so we expect that those properties will be closed within the next month. And so they're included in this application, and we're asking for those two wells to be included as well. So this area where these wells have been purchased is an area where Wexpro has a lot of developmental experience. They've been drilling wells in these areas for years, and so that gives us a lot of confidence in their ability to produce cost of service gas at favorable prices. And it is shown in Exhibit M. This acquisition will not cause Wexpro to exceed the 55% production threshold. And as Exhibit 3.5 shows in Mr. Rasmussen's testimony, the inclusion of this property will actually reduce the overall Wexpro cost of service going forward. So assuming both commissions approve this application, Wexpro will begin crediting the proceeds of this acquisition to customers. So just to give you a little background, they're currently selling this production on the open market, have a contract to do that through the end of June. And so at the point that both commissions approve this, the proceeds of that gas will go to customers, be credited. And then beginning July 1st, that actual gas will go to Dominion Energy Utah for its customers. So the company believes this acquisition is just and reasonable in the public interest and asks that the commission approve it. And that concludes my summary. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Mendenhall is available for cross-examination and commission questions.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Any questions for him?
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Allen?
No questions.
Mr. Clark?
I have no questions, thank you.
Just because we're always curious about these things, what's the process in Wyoming? Have they already had a hearing?
Yeah, so right now, I think they have a scheduled hearing for the 9th of June, and typically they like to bench orders there. So we would anticipate, based on the consumer advocate has filed no testimony in that proceeding, which is always a good sign. So we're assuming they approve it, it would be approved on the 9th of June in Wyoming. So.
Okay. And the 60 days runs somewhere around June 13th, 14th.
Yeah, I think we filed April 14th, so I think the 60 days would be June 13th, if my math is correct.
Okay. Thank you. I have any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Ms. Clark?
Thank you. The company has nothing further.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
Thank you. The division would call Eric Orton as its witness.
Morning, Mr. Orton.
Morning.
You swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Could you please state your name and business address for the record?
My name is Eric Orton. I'm at 160 East, 300 South, Salt Lake City.
By whom are you employed and what is your title?
The Division of Public Utilities. I'm a utility technical consultant.
In connection with your employment at the division, have you participated on behalf of the division in this docket?
I have.
Do you have a summary you would like to present today?
I do.
Please proceed.
Thank you. In this docket, Dominion is asking that the Alkali Gulch unit, Wexpro Development Company, acquired in March, be included as a Wexpro 2 property. In support of this application, it provided 16 exhibits, mostly confidential, showing the property location, prospective drilling sites, expected production, historical production, and cost analysis. The Alkali Gulch unit is a group of natural gas wells located near existing Wexpro 2 and Wexpro 1 properties in southwestern Wyoming, consisting of many currently producing wells and some that are not economic. If this application is approved, Wexpro is planning to drill additional wells in this field each year through 2025. Assuming these new wells produce near the forecasted levels, this would add about 10% to the Wexpro existing production and would slightly reduce the average price of Wexpro cost of service gas, as well as provide a supply hedge to Dominion's ratepayers. Additionally, even with this additional production, Wexpro will remain below the established 55% production cap. The total purchase price Wexpro Development Company agreed to pay back in March will be adjusted downward based on the amount of gas sold between that purchase date and the date the Commission approves it as a Wexpro 2 property, assuming it does. It should be noted that this outstanding issue Mr. Mendenhall referred to, known as the Sparks Ridge wells, is still currently included in the purchase agreement. And assuming these issues will be resolved as he indicated, the final price, if they are not resolved as he indicated, the final price will be reduced accordingly. Based on the division's examination of this application, the exhibits, lengthy meetings with both Dominion Energy and Wexpro personnel, and the expert involvement of our Wexpro hydrocarbon monitor, the division recommends the Commission approve the application and admit the Alkali Gulch unit acquisition into the Wexpro managed properties. The existing production and additional drilling locations appear in line with past production and expectations from this area. Even with minor adjustments or forecasting errors, the acquisition should lower the overall cost of service for customers and increase the amount of gas available while keeping the production below the 55% IRP limit.
Is it the division's position that approving the application would be just and reasonable and in the public interest?
It is.
Thank you. Mr. Orton is now available for cross-examination and questions from the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Clark.
We have no questions, thanks.
No questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any. Thank you for your testimony this morning. Thank you. Anything further?
Nothing further from the division. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
The office calls Bella Vastag and asks that he be sworn.
Good morning, Mr. Vosberg. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Bela Vastag. First name Bela, last name Vastag.
How are you employed and what is your business address?
I am employed by the Utah Office of Consumer Services as a utility analyst. My business address is 160 East, 300 South, Salt Lake City.
In your capacity as a utility analyst for the OCS, have you reviewed and are you familiar with the filings in this docket, docket 2205705?
Yes.
On May 18th, you prepare and cause to be filed public and confidential testimony outlining the OCS's position in this docket.
Yes.
Do you have any changes you'd like to make to this testimony at this time?
No changes.
If I ask you the questions contained in your testimony, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Have you prepared a summary of your testimony to present at this time?
Yes, I have a short summary.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Office of Consumer Services, or OCS, recommends that the Utah Public Service Commission approve Dominion Energy's request in this docket to include Alkali Gulch as a Wexpro 2 property. The OCS makes this recommendation after a careful review of the exhibits that Dominion filed with its request and a review of Dominion's responses to data requests. As I explained in more detail in my direct testimony that I filed on May 18th, our review of this information indicates that the potential benefits of the Alkali Gulch acquisition outweigh its risks. The primary risk of including Alkali Gulch in Wexpro 2 is that market prices for natural gas could fall substantially. For example, they could fall back to the $2 to $3 per decatherm range. If that happened, the gas currently being produced from Alkali Gulch would be uneconomical for ratepayers, and also no new wells would be drilled on the property. However, the OCS believes this risk is worth taking because natural gas prices have been elevated for many months due to many events such as extreme weather, the COVID-19 pandemic supply disruptions, and the war in Ukraine. For example, recently, we have seen natural gas prices trading between $7 and $9 per decatherm. It appears unlikely that prices would return to the $2 range in the near future. The OCS sees several benefits of including the Alkali Gulch property under Wexpro 2. Number one, Wexpro already has experience drilling wells in the area that Alkali Gulch is located, which should help keep costs down. Number two, Wexpro's analysis shows that the cost of gas per decatherm from Alkali Gulch is well below current and recent market prices, which will provide immediate savings for ratepayers. And number three, adding production from Alkali Gulch will help maintain Wexpro's total production of cost of service gas near its 55% cap of total Dominion gas supply. Increasing cost of service gas production at this time through the Alkali Gulch acquisition provides several benefits to ratepayers, including increased gas supply hedging, increased gas price stabilization, and increased gas supply reliability. Therefore, the OCS believes these many benefits outweigh the risks of a substantial price decline for natural gas. Therefore, the OCS recommends that the Commission approve Dominion's request to include Alkali Gulch as a Wexpro 2 property. And that concludes my statement.
Mr. Baylor, Mr. Vastag is available for cross and questions from the Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
No questions?
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Allen.
No questions.
Mr. Clark.
No questions.
I don't have any, so thank you for your testimony this morning. Anything else, Mr. Moore?
Nothing else, thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
No, thank you.
Could I ask you to indulge maybe a very brief recess? Probably 1 or 2 minutes. That's great. Okay, thanks.
Wow.
That's what I'm usually here for.
Okay, we're back on the record. And we just want to express our intention to approve this application and our intention to issue it with effect prior to the expiration of the 60 days. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the quickest recess I've ever seen.